Okie dokie, so we'll have to skip the intro today. Somehow the Stream Deck and OBS are doing what they want. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Common Chaos Live with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this Tuesday afternoon. Weather is amazing, or mostly amazing. It's sunny outside, although with cold wind. I hope you had a great day so far. As always, before we jump into today's episode, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way first. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, as always, we're going to start a Q&A. So whatever questions you have, 1 second, at the top of the chat, you should see... I'm going to switch that here to questions and this here to live chat. So at the top of the chat, you should see what would you like to know. Submit your questions here. And when you click on that, you will be able to submit your questions. Yeah, and those questions I will do my best to answer as we move along. However, first and foremost, 1 second, still need to open a window or two before I share my screen. And then we're gonna cover some things. There's not a lot of news today, but there are a few things I wanna cover nonetheless. Yeah, so we'll work our way from the left to the right. We push that magic button, and this is also not working. That's a bummer. Okay, then 1 second. I have to check what's. Okay, there's the phone still configured. That's gonna be annoying. Yeah, but still, desktop main. There we go. Hide the. Where's the iPhone? iPhone. Hide the iPhone. Okay. Disable studio mode. Okay, and then we go here. So it's not going as smooth today because for some reason my Stream Deck is not doing what it should. Yeah, so I have to handle the transitions manually. But yeah. By the way, welcome Santi. Welcome Teddy. Welcome Louis. Welcome Google Coins. Yeah. Great to have you all here. So first things first, as you might have noticed, based on me often sharing posts from Reddit, I'm spending time on Reddit. It's a time grave, yeah. And the only reason why Rena tolerates me being so many hours on Reddit is because I'm also in the cat subreddit and share cute cat pictures with her. But I saw this one here. I'm not sure if it's true. I can believe that it's true based on what else I know about Japan. It's not a lot, and there are a few or a lot of negative aspects about the culture in Japan and so on that I believe, or that I read. If they're true or not, different story. But I like this part here and I wanted to share it. In Japan, there is a custom of parking further away from the exit if you're early. This would allow people who are late to save time in finding a parking space and reduce the distance to travel. So if you show up early for work, you park here and walk all the way there or wherever the entry is so that people that come later can park closer and don't have to walk that far. In other words, it means, where's my webcam? In other words, it means that people are considerate. Yeah? This could be applied to every other aspect of life. And I'm not sure how it is in your country or in your area or so, but here in Germany, I would say most people, doesn't matter if it's about driving to work or driving to the supermarket, if they're early, they will park exactly at the door. Yeah, and it's a minor thing to be considerate of your fellow citizens, whatever. Yeah, the same applies also if we want to in Pi Network. Yeah, obviously you do with and other cryptocurrencies as well, and when you invest in stocks, so you do with your money whatever you want. It's your decision, your choices or so. But it kind of like, if we were to translate it, it would be you got your coins first and you instantly sell them to cash out. And with that create sell pressure, potentially, yeah, making it harder, impossible, or driving down the value for other people in the future that also would like to maybe sell a little bit or so, yeah. So obviously there are areas where it applies more, areas where it applies less, but I just wanted to share it. So just as a food for thought, when you go through your day, maybe here and there, maybe you're already very considerate about all the people around you and so on, maybe you're not. So when you go through your day, think about this, how it applies to you, how you can here and there be a little bit more considerate, holding the door open for somebody else or some minor things. I just wanted to share this because I think it's nice to see that there are societies out there or countries out there where people are just raised in a different way. I'm not saying that everything in Japan is perfect. As said, there are also other sides to the whole thing, but this specifically is something that caught my attention. So obviously that has nothing to do with crypto, just about being a human being and not a dick. So moving on. So this is a post. You see it's already older. I bookmarked it already before, but we never got to it. I believe we never got to it. And today I was cleaning up my saved post, so to look for what we covered today. And it's quite interesting because it's two things at the same time. So first of all, the post is about people claiming that Pi has no utility and so on, and that it however has utility and blah, blah, blah. And then it attached a picture. I mean, there are multiple pictures, yeah. But what is the quintessential picture is, where was it? There, this one here, yeah. So we all know that Pi has limited utility right now. There are not that many mainnet apps, and so this is not the point. I just like the, let's call it, duality of this specific post by, on one hand, sharing some use cases. So like the two before, so this primary school in, I don't know, Nigeria or so accepts Pi as payment, which is nice. There is a coffee shop in wherever that is. Yeah, South Korea, Vietnam, somewhere in that area, I would guess, based on the writing, that accepts Pi. And then there is this clinic in Mwanza, however, in Tanzania, yeah, that accepts Pi, which is great. However, at a value of, although that's from last year in April, so at a value of 1 Pi is $314,000. So the global consensus value that we already talked about in the past, that's complete nonsense, never will happen, simply not sustainable or not possible. And which kind of makes it, as said, like a little bit of both worlds. On one hand, it's nice to see a use case. On the other hand, you see exactly what happens when people have unrealistic expectations. In this case, this sanatorium or sanitarium, yeah, whatever that is, yeah, so my English left the room at some point, did the right thing by adopting to a new currency and say, okay, we're going to accept Pi. And who knows how many of their customers, clients, however you call it, actually paid with Pi already during the enclosed mainnet. And now that Pi is listed, they actually see that they missed out, or that they did not make the money that they would have to make, because obviously Pi is not trading at $300,000 per Pi. That's why it's important to, in my opinion, have realistic expectations. Yeah, so with everything. So obviously, one should not be a pessimist. You should not be, oh, it will not be worth anything or so. If you cannot settle on any value, so if you are like, okay, you don't feel like it can be worth $10, you also don't want to be a pessimist, then simply try to have no expectation whatsoever, because the core goal is to not be disappointed. Because we talked about in the past, Pi obviously had a quite successful launch. Initially putting it in the top 15 of coins listed on CoinMarketCap. We'll get to that later as well. And however, whoever made the decision at that sanitarium, I think it should be sanatorium or not, but anyway, to accept Pi at $314,000 per Pi, probably either lost their job or is hugely disappointed at the launch, because they basically missed out on $314,157.50. Yeah, or that's money that they didn't get. So not that much, but for every payment they received, they only got a small fraction of what they actually would charge otherwise. Yeah. And that's why it's important, like, to use your head, apply common sense. And if you, I don't know, like, don't have unrealistic expectations, better than have no expectation. So you're happy with the result, especially when we talk about something where you did not invest any money. Yeah. That's something I wanted to share already a while back, but we didn't get to it. So, but now we have. Moving on, different topic, just so that we cover also something that's not just about about Pi Network, but crypto in general. We covered it during the streams, but you probably also know that Bybit got hacked and basically $1.5 billion worth of Ethereum got stolen. And it's interesting. I'm not going to open the article. I'm just going to tell you what this is about. So it's interesting that the hackers, which based on the information that has been shared is a North Korean hacking group called Lazarus, if I'm not mistaken, that they actually take advantage of making trading mistakes in quotes. So by using decentralized exchanges, so for example, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and so on. So there are different exchanges out there that are decentralized, that support different blockchains that you can use to swap currency. So either from one currency into the other on the same blockchain, or from one currency into another on even a different blockchain. And the interesting thing there is that they on purpose, for example, swap 100,000 USDT or 100,000 Ethereum, whatever, for only 2,000 USDT. So like a 98% loss, because their trading bots that they use on the other end basically become the counterpart for that transaction and then make the profit, which means it appears as if they made a dumb beginner's mistake and lost whatever 89% in a transaction of stolen money, when in fact they actually this way wash that money, because the other party, so the other crypto account that is the other party of the trade, obviously has no direct connection. So that wallet has no direct connection with the hack of the exchange, for example, yeah? Which is also again a very, very important aspect when we talk about Pi Network, because they're outside of trying to pass KYC with fake documents or buying already KYC verified accounts from people. There is no way to have a functioning wallet without first completing KYC, which means it's a huge positive aspect towards preventing criminal activity that involves that specific cryptocurrency. So in that case, Pi, which makes it more likely, or not more likely, but makes it definitely more attractive or more tolerable for governments around the world as far as crypto goes. Yeah, moving on. So question-wise, don't forget, you can submit your question at the top where it says, what would you like to know? Submit your questions here, click on it, and then you can submit them. If you don't see that right now at the top, refresh the page. Yeah, then one other thing I wanted to jump into today that we all, or I, maybe not we all, but I forgot about. So we all know that Pi Network is centralized right now, but is it true that someday this project will be completely decentralized and the Pi core team will not have control over any of it? And that's actually an interesting aspect, because if we look into the white paper, so we're going to jump there in a second. We have the original March white paper where we have the governance explained, that explains that, and that's the interesting part, that basically first Pi will handle everything, the core team, and second, in phase number 2, once we have more than 5 million members, that there will be a provisional governance model. So basically, yeah, so that the Pi core team will rely heavy on input. And then there was something about, so more than 5 million users, that was it. Upon 5 million users, we will have a provisional committee will be that will be formed based on previous contributions to Pi Network. Obviously, this never happened, which is an interesting aspect, because when we look at the December 21 white paper, that's also again outdated by now, but there the governance is not covered at all. Yeah. So, and the roadmap pretty much just covers the beta phase, the testnet phase, the mainnet phase, so split up in the enclosed mainnet, and then for the open mainnet, you can see that basically the assumption was that the open mainnet might launch March 14th, 22 or June 28, 2022 or later. Obviously, it happened almost 3 years later. And I'm curious, so this is not something for me sharing information or so, but I'm curious to see if or how the original idea of the, let's say, decentralization still is relevant. Yeah, it would obviously be nice. Yeah, now the governance section doesn't load here. So it would obviously be nice if at some point people themselves could vote on everything. Yeah. So the more Pi you have, the more votes you get. So the bigger, kind of like the bigger your stake in the project, the more you can influence certain decisions. However, that also only makes sense. For that, we probably have to circle to Reddit back. Yeah. If crypto.com should be like this or not. If not sure if I find a post about it there, if then the team themselves doesn't have any insane voting power. Yeah. So for those of you that follow crypto.com, they also have basically public voting. Yeah, or not public. So if you hold crypto or if you're operating nodes, actually you have voting power. And as you can see, they had a proposal because years ago they burned 70 billion coins. They also had 100 billion coins, just like Pi Network. And years ago they decided to burn 70 billion, which obviously helped the price a little bit. And now they introduced a vote to basically reissue the entire 70 billion. And every single node voted against it. And then shortly before the end of the voting period, the big nodes that crypto.com operates themselves simply voted with yes. And with that, basically, it's 51% yes, 49% no. So yeah, that's just food for thought. I have no idea if the Pi core team is still committed. So I'm not saying that they're not, but that they're still committed to basically fully decentralize the project at some point. It would be nice to see an updated white paper. It slipped my mind that it's already been basically almost 3 years, and whatever is written here is, while still relevant in terms of formulas used for mining rates and so on, partially already outdated and would require an update. And it would be nice to see how it looks in terms of governance. So what's the plan there? Will the team decide, okay, they will stay in control, or will they actually be okay, if we reach 50 million users, then we'll switch to a governance or to an approach where everybody that runs a node or everybody that has Pi staked or under some other conditions can actually vote on decisions, and with that help direct the project. And so as long as it doesn't go like with crypto.com, where basically the CEO of crypto.com literally on Twitter also told people, well, you can vote or you can just sell. And then they just made the vote anyway irrelevant because they have the majority vote. So anyway, let's check real quick which questions we have. Yes, Santi will do that. And Teddy will also talk about the price. So that's the section we'll get in here later. We'll actually first have to open a few other things here. So just 1 second. So there are a few more things. I also found it interesting. 4 days ago, there was a post. Why would I register my business to accept Pi? And that's something we talked about that I already shared. That, for example, as a vendor, if I would accept Pi, so let's say I have a coffee shop or I'm a carpenter, whatever, if I accept Pi, then I have to basically have a way to relatively quickly exchange those Pi for fiat, because otherwise I have the risk that if the price drops, I lose money. Yeah. So I quote you $1,000 for something, you pay me in Pi, and then I don't exchange it, and then maybe a week later it's only worth 800 or 500. Maybe it's worth twice as much. Who knows? Yeah. So it adds additional complexity, especially additionally with accounting and so on. So here's a user asking, okay, why they should, and then there is another post that was about somebody countering, okay, what actually the benefit is of accepting Pi. And I want to quickly go through those few points. So first of all, it says additional revenue stream, because if let's say there are 2 coffee shops next to you, one is regular and one accepts Pi. Since you are a pioneer and you have Pi, you might be more likely to go to the one that accepts Pi instead of going to the other one, simply because you know you can pay with Pi. So there is a chance of getting more revenue if you accept Pi coins. Positioning in an emerging digital ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, yes, no. I mean, it's kind of like the same with you pretty much attract people and you show that you are forward thinking. But for that purpose, you could also just adopt something like crypto pay, so where you can then accept multiple cryptocurrencies and you don't have the risk of the exchange rates because you instantly get it swapped. Diversification of payment channels, that's indeed true. However, it also comes with more effort. Tax and regulatory advantages, tax advantages maybe, but regulatory advantages, I don't think there are any, because at the end of the day, it adds more administrative effort. Maybe in some countries, dealing with crypto payments is easy, but in many, you would have, you need a crypto wallet, which means just like you have to keep track of all your bank account transactions, you then also in your tax filings will have to declare your crypto holdings, what you bought or got, what you sold at what value, what profit you gained, and so on. Long-term strategic investment, maybe, So community-driven innovation, maybe, So I thought it nice to see that on one hand, there's somebody that actively says, okay, why should I? And that in his post, so in the original post here, I'm going to share both real quick with you in the chat. So you just can check them out yourself. And so focuses on more on the negative aspect of transferring it back to US dollar, paying fees along the way, that expenses and payroll have to be covered in fiat and so on. And then on the other hand, somebody trying to point out the positive aspects. I have to say, I don't see a positive aspects in all of this that's mentioned here, because for some of them, not sure if I find it, but for some of them, picking crypto pay is the easier solution. So basically, as a shop, you sign up with crypto pay, and then people can pay with cryptocurrency, and you instantly receive euro or dollar. So you don't have the hassle of dealing with crypto accounting, which is the way easier solution as a business to accept crypto compared to accepting a single crypto, having to maintain crypto wallets. How do you integrate your one single cryptocurrency into your point of sale software, whereas for crypto pay, there maybe is already some integration and so on. But just want to share that. That we keep for tomorrow. We'll move on. Then Teddy asks, just wondering if you know the reason for why Pi price. No, sorry, Santi first. We get to Teddy's question as well. Questions. By the way, hi NFT Cutie, great to have you here. So not really a question, but it would be nice if you could take a look at Pi's next 30-day unlocks and make an analysis. Yes, we can. Probably, where was it? Pi unlocks 30 days. And hand in hand, here I have to click. So just wondering if you know the reason for why Pi's price keeps going down. Tongue twisting here. So switching back here to the chat, so I see that as well. And it's both of them. I think all of it is kind of connected. So as far as the unlocks go, we see that we have some unlocks a little bit more than usual in the next couple of days, which may or may not reflect on the price as well. Quickly want to check when Explore Pi still not updated since the 1st of March, which is a pity. But I still want to grab the following metric from here right now. So remind people, Explore Pi tracks potentially lost Pi. And the definition for that is basically Pi that are already theoretically unlocked, but haven't been claimed for a year. Which means most likely users forgot about their account or lost access to those wallets. So that's basically 218 million as of 1st of March. Which means we also have to consider that even if there are unlocks, with the biggest one on March 21st with 23.4 million Pi unlocking, that some of them will also be in wallets that are lost, where people lost the passphrase, or they don't know their account anymore. They completed KYC a year ago, but by now forgot about the project completely and didn't even notice that it has a value now. They might have died or whatever reason, but so some of that will also be lost already. Overall, so as far as the price impact goes, basically it means till March 24th, we could see if there is any decline, in quotes bigger. We'll talk about the price in a second as well. And then obviously the number of new Pi that gets released or unlocks is lower, but we can also see that basically the lowest amount we have is close to 1 million that unlocks. And on average, I would say it's around 4 million or so, or average is 5.2. It's literally written there. Yeah. So 5.2 million that unlock. That doesn't again not mean that all of those 5.2 will be, should have, by the way, told me 1 second. So can I, from here, now I have to switch back. 1 second, I have to, so now you can see the graph. Yeah, sadly the chat overlay was covering it. Yeah, but you see the biggest unlock March 21st, and then you see it's relatively flat. So 5 to 10 million, lowest one here. And again, out of those 5.2 average per day that unlock, there will be some that are lost to users, people that forgot about their accounts and so on. And even from those that unlock from people that have access to your account, not everybody is going to sell. Yeah. I don't necessarily think we can draw a lot of conclusions from the unlocks, because also many of the unlocks right now. So if we look again, some of the information here is outdated because the last update was 1st of March, but the monthly unlocks moving forward are relatively accurate still. And the lockup graph is also relatively accurate. And you can see that basically roughly, let's say 50% of people have a 3-year lockup period. And for example, my personal lockup ends in July, because I got my first migration already in 22, and it stands to reason that more people that received their first migration in 22 by now completely forgot about the project than people that basically received their migration more recently or so. Yeah, but even so, some of the people will simply lock up their coins again, and right now, I don't think the lockups are a big issue. July might be a challenge. We can see there is a bigger unlock going on, but then it's relatively flat again until, that's migrations, wrong columns. Here we are. So June, July might be challenging. This month might be challenging. We can see with bigger unlocks still, but then it's relatively flat. And then only in 2 years from now, we'll have bigger amounts unlock. And then when those bigger amounts unlock, Pi anyway in 2 years from now has to have a thriving ecosystem. Otherwise the project is, in quotes, not dead, but the price would be in the basement. Yeah. Now, if we talk about the price, a few things. So first of all, I've seen a few comments that ask if Pi will go back up. Right now we rank on spot number 15. Earlier today it was spot number 16 among cryptocurrencies in market cap. Yeah, so with 8 billion right now, because obviously with migrations being pulled back, which is something we talked about last week. Irina for sure will share a link to that stream if you're curious about why and why it was necessary and so on. But that reduces the circulating supply, and the market cap is nothing else but taking the current price and multiplying it with the circulating supply. And if the price stays the same, but you remove 1 billion in circulating supply, you still lose market cap. So the moment the migrations actually run properly again, and people don't have the migrated Pi moved back into their account again as a security measure. Check out the video that Irina just shared in the chat if you don't know what I'm talking about. The moment the circulating supply will increase again, and that moment the market cap will increase again, and with that also the ranking will increase again, even if the price simultaneously would decline further. We'll talk about that as well. But even if that were to happen, so as long as the circulating supply increases more than then the price decreases, the ranking would still go up. Market cap, by the way, for those that haven't thought about it yet, is just a theoretical value. Yeah, because so right now Pi Network has a market cap of $8 billion. Yeah. Now, if I would own every single Pi, so I would own 6.88 billion Pi, and I would want to cash out, or if every single person that holds Pi and not a single Pi would be locked and we all would want to cash out, we would not get $8 billion, because the moment we start selling is the moment where obviously the price would plummet. So the first people would be able to sell at $1.17, then $1.16, $1.15, $1.10, $1.90, and so on. So market cap, no matter if it's with crypto or if it's with stocks, is always a theoretical value. So it simply tells you if or the value of all the coins, tokens, or if we talk about stocks, shares in existence multiplied by the current price per coin, token, or share. how much money it is. Yeah? Same with Bitcoin. It has $1.6 trillion market cap, but if every single Bitcoin holder, if none of the coins would be lost and everybody would want to cash out, they would not get 1.6 trillion for it, because the moment people start selling, the market cap would come crashing down as well, because the price would start dropping further. Yeah. And so market cap is a theoretical value. Having a higher market cap is nice, because it means that either you have an insane amount of supply and a very low token value, or you have a reasonable amount of supply and a relatively high token value. So you see, for example, Bitcoin, very low supply and high token value. Ethereum, relatively by much or 6 times higher supply, lower value per token, but still second biggest in market cap, although by far behind of Bitcoin, of course. Yeah. Anyway, so talking about the price, so ranking will go up again once the migrations again don't pull back the migrated pie, but actually leave them in the wallets, because it will increase the circulating supply. That multiplied by the current price will then again increase the market cap, which again pushes up the rating and so on. Even if the price corrects or goes further down, then it just is the question, the multiplication of whatever current price we have multiplied by the circulating supply. If the number gets bigger, higher ranking. If that number gets lower, well, we're all going to be a little bit unhappy, at least temporarily. Talking about the price, we've talked recently, or not recently, in some of the previous episodes, I've shared that I'm using a trading strategy called the Elliott wave principle. Now, I want to be 100% transparent. This is something that applies mostly in indices, because it relies on mass psychology. Just like any other trading strategy out there, it's not 100% correct, because there's nobody out there that is correct 100% of the time. Even Warren Buffett gets things wrong from time to time, for example. Yeah. But it is the trading strategy that I've been using now for 5 years or so, and that's brought me pretty much the best results ever. It seems on first glance very easy, but it is actually relatively complex, especially talking about corrections. So it separates to keep things very simple. Irina can, by the way, share a link to grab the free book. So you can read this book online for free if you're curious about learning this specific trading strategy, or you just want to check it out. You can also get yourself a physical copy, although it's like $29 plus shipping. But yeah, so it's the strategy I'm using, and it works in a way that basically it subdivides the movements into waves, where we always have 5 wave impulsive waves, followed by 3, 6, 9 waves of correction. So it's always multiples of 3s. And then followed by, or yeah, let's try to explain this better. Yeah, so like just to keep it simple, I try to keep it simple, yeah. But basically in Elliott wave theory, we always have, I have to disable the magnet, 1 second. So disable that stupid magnet. We always have impulsive waves that go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are also 2 variations of that. They look similar, are called differently. And whenever we have an impulsive wave, there are rules that, for example, wave 1 by itself also again subdivides into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 2 is a corrective wave, so it subdivides into 3, 6, or 9 waves, like A, B, C, for example. Wave 3 would be another impulsive wave, 5 waves. Wave 4 is a corrective wave, 3 waves, and wave 5 is again an impulsive wave, 5 waves. Yeah, again, that's just very rough explained. So, which means when we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it automatically becomes wave 1 of a bigger degree, and then we would have the next wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Yeah. So this way, no matter if you look at the yearly chart, monthly chart, down to at least an hourly chart, you can basically apply Elliott wave theory to the chart. Just like I actually did here. Now I'm going to try to adjust this a little bit. Again, it's not 100%, or it's like you will be wrong from time to time, but yeah, that's with every trading strategy. Now, based on Elliott wave theory, we talked about not the last time, but at some point, it looks like we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move up here. We covered that in one previous stream. I don't know which one exactly. And then as a result, we finished an impulsive wave that now becomes wave 1. And we're in a corrective wave that now retraces this wave 1. So that will be based on Elliott wave theory. Yeah? The most common retracement would be the 38.2 retracement level, 61.8 retracement level, or the 50% retracement level. I have to go back here so you see it. So the numbers are here vice versa because TradingView applies the Fibonacci retracement, or the retracement levels the opposite way around compared to MotiveWave, the software I usually use. But basically 38.2 retracement level, 61.8, and then those are the two most likely retracement levels, followed by 50%, followed by 21.4, followed by 78.6. Now, if we again zoom a little bit further, so that huge starting candle goes out of the picture, we can see that right now we are at the 78.6 retracement level, and at least for now, we bounced from that level. Additionally, when we have a corrective pattern, and it is a free wave move, which would be labeled as ABC, then very often, or not very often, usually wave A and wave C are either almost identical. However, wave C has a minimum target of 61.8%. That would be the minimum target. If we have here a free wave move A, B, C, then this would be the minimum target. And we can see that it overlaps with the 78.6 retracement. Now, this is no guarantee, especially because you cannot compare the trading volume and the people involved trading Pi with, for example, trading the Nasdaq or Standard & Poor's 500 or so. But simply applying some basic Elliott wave theory here would point towards this is actually a good area for this correction to end and for a potential turnaround. Again, it's not a guarantee. And thank you very much for sharing the reminder. But yeah, so I'm curious to see how this plays out. It could obviously go lower. Again, no guarantees here. It's just my opinion, applying the trading strategy that I use to manage our investment portfolios to also the chart of Elliott wave theory, of Pi network. But visually, it seems to fit so far. We'll have to wait and see. You also, by the way, notice that when we look at it, so as at the 38.2 retracement is the most common area of turnaround. You can see that while we spiked through it, we actually bounced from it. The 50% is the third likely area, but you can see there nothing happened. But again, and here the 61.8% retracement is also with the 38.2 retracement level, those two are the most likely areas of turnaround. And you can see here we also bounce. And if you humor yourself, if you go to other charts, doesn't matter if it's stocks or other things, and you just pick a low point, a high point, apply a Fibonacci retracement, and then look when the price moves down, at which levels it bounces, and you will see that, again, not always, we're never talking about guarantees, we're talking about probabilities when we apply Elliott wave theory, but very often you will see that the correction ends at those levels, 38.2, 61.8, 50, 78.6, or very rarely 21.4. And so overall, I would not be surprised. Even if we don't apply Elliott wave theory, we can apply common sense. The $1 mark is a psychological level where probably a lot of people will have buy orders. So that basically didn't want to buy here, and that are saying, okay, if it falls to $1, I'm just gonna, I don't know, buy for $50, buy for $100 or so. So even if we go a little bit lower here, I expect then that $1 would serve as the bounce. But right now we would actually be in the perfect area. Now, if you would want confirmation in quotes for that, then we would do something very simple. This is not some fancy trading strategy. We just put a trend line that goes, or I should enable that stupid magnet again, 1 second, so that it actually picks the right points. We pick the high here, and then we pick, no, not this. On one hand, we pick then this high, and on the other hand, on a smaller scale, we can actually this, So we would right now need to break the level here around 127, 126. So that would already give us a first, not full confirmation, but would point towards that whatever trend channel downwards movement is currently ongoing would be, not fully over, but we at least made it through the ceiling. And then the second one would be this one. You could also add a trend channel. It probably works very nicely. So if we pick a parallel channel and take this, and then you make it a parallel through here, then you can see that we're right now moving in this channel. Yeah? And so while breaking this line to the top here at 127 to 130 would already be a first sign, the real challenge will be, or the real confirmation in quotes will be once or if we break the level here at around 150. So the longer it goes on, the lower the price we have to break. And then basically we would break it, very likely retrace again and test it. And then if we stay above that line, then we are likely in for further upward movement. Yeah. That however about the price. So what else do we have? Are these unlocked tokens every day the migrated Pi that are on unlock, or are they the ones from the okay, yeah. So I need to switch that here. So questions. Yeah, so Elise is asking, will the second migration also happen this year? And Raymond is asking, hi Christian, are these unlocked tokens every day the migrated Pi that are on lockup, or these are the ones from transfer balance? Yeah, all the information that you see on Explore Pi and PiScan is data from the blockchain, which means we're only talking about coins that are already migrated into the wallets, which means those are coins that are currently locked in the wallet. So either locked up from the migration or using the on-chain lockup, and that are where the lockup period ends. Yeah, so this has nothing to do with the transferable balance. Yeah, which is an important aspect. Again, that's what LSA is asking. So will the second migration happen this year? We don't know. Nobody can answer that. I expect, so my personal expectation would be towards the end of the year that people will start to see secondary migrations. But at the end of the day, only the core team knows. I understand. So this is kind of what brings us, I'm going to switch the scene here, so I don't think we need the chart anymore. So this is kind of what brings us back to the initial picture that I showed about people in Japan parking further away if they arrive early, so people that are late don't have that far to walk and so on. Yeah. It's like, I get everybody wants to get their coins because everybody just looks at the price. Everybody looks at, okay, maybe you look at it and you see, okay, it's $1.18. It was already $3. Oh my God, if I don't get my coins now, maybe it's worth 50 cents in a month and then I don't get any money. So some people are eager to get their coins to sell. Some people are eager just to have them, and everybody in their head already does the math. Oh my God, I have that many unverified coins, and that's transferable and it's worth that much and whatnot. And maybe you're already thinking about what car you're gonna buy or which phone or PlayStation or whatever. Yeah, like maybe you're thinking about paying off your credit card debt or something. So actually doing something useful with that money or so. But that is actually part of the problem. Yeah. That everybody now just thinks about, with everybody, I mean many people, yeah? Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 80, maybe it's only 20%. Doesn't matter, but there out of millions of users, there are hundreds of thousands out there that are thinking like this, and that just worry about me, when can I use that money, yeah? And that fail to understand the implication. And the implication is fairly simple. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's actually a little bit, we even had it in the stream. So on one hand, the question is, what will the impact of the lockups be? On the other hand, the question is, will I get my coins? Yeah. If more and more supply is added to the blockchain, so more and more people get more and more coins that they can if they want to sell, then obviously it will drive the price down unless there is utility, unless there is a reason for people to also buy Pi coins. Even when we talk about your local coffee shop accepting Pi, that's great. You pay the coffee with Pi, but the coffee shop owner maybe doesn't want to gamble if Pi goes up or down in value, so he will sell the Pi. So it's the same end result as if you just sold it on Bitmart or OKX or MEXC or Pionex or no, not Bitmart, BitGet, yeah, no, or Bitmart, yeah, it doesn't matter, yeah. So it's the same end result. You pay your coffee, and then that guy transfers it. The only difference is if you transfer it to the exchange and sell it, there is 0.01 Pi in transaction fees that gets in quotes lost. If you pay the coffee and then he sends it to the exchange, it's 2 transactions, so it's twice as much that gets lost in transaction fees. But outside of that, the coffee shop owner would then sell. So the whole challenge is to overcome your own greed. Remind yourself you did not invest any money. I mean, some people did. I also bought some Pi, as you guys know. You saw it during the live streams. But first of all, overcome your own greed. And I know that when I was so I have to circle back or like really go further back here. And I'm sorry for that. And my wife already is like going crazy with me, covering things that, from one to the other, like a dog seeing a squirrel. But when I was a teenager for school, I had to do an internship, and I earned, I don't know, let's say, I don't remember exactly, but let's say 400 euros in a week. Yeah. And it felt like this is a lot of money. But it also felt like it's not enough. Like, so whatever I wanted to buy back then it was about getting better speakers for my car or maybe a new laptop or so. It felt like I would need more money, but it still felt 400 is a lot. But I felt like if I would make or actually not 400 per week, it was 400 per month. Yeah. If I would make 1,000 in a month, it would be so much more and it would be enough. Yeah. And eventually I started making 1,000 in a month, and then it was still not enough. Yeah. And then I started earning more than that and so on, but it still felt not enough or so. So the point is, when you earn little, you somehow manage to pay your bills and survive. You might not be able to buy luxury goods, and you might not be able to do a lot of fun things that cost money, but you still are able to get through life. But you always feel like, okay, if I have a little more, I'll be rich, in quotes. Yeah. The older you get, the more you learn that even if you were to make 10,000 per month, you're far away from rich. Yeah. But the whole point of this story is, whatever amount of Pi you have, even if you have a couple thousand Pi, so even if you have 5,000 Pi right now, doesn't matter if it's unverified or if it's already in your wallet or if it's locked up or not. Yeah. But if you sell it right now, you get $5,000, $6,000. Now, if you live somewhere like in, I don't know, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Philippines, some country with basically low average income, that might be enough to cover your expenses for a year. Yeah. So you could quit your job and not work for a year or two, but it does not really change your life. It might give you a little bit of, if you live frugally, a little bit of time to relax or so. You cannot afford a proper in quotes, like a better quality with a little bit more features, middle class car with that money. You cannot buy a house with that money. You cannot buy an apartment with that money. So it really doesn't do anything that really changes your life long term. Yeah. And since you didn't invest anything to get those Pi, would you really want to cash out for an amount of money? Yes, you could buy yourself a new iPhone, and you could buy yourself a PlayStation and a big, 65-inch TV. But would that really change your life in a way that's meaningful? To me, I'm at a point in my life where I realize that's not what changes my life or improves my life. That's also why, while I also look at my balance, and I really would like to know how much of my unverified balance I actually will get eventually. But it's not worth selling for that amount. Sure, if you have credit card debt and there's 20% interest of the debt, then use your Pi to pay off your credit cards, but then also ask yourself, how the fuck did you manage to have credit card debt in the first place? It means you spend more than you make. So adjust your spending pattern that you don't then in 3 months again have credit card debt. Yeah. But outside of that, try to see the bigger picture, not just focus on the short-term price, but on the long-term implications. We should not, and I know it's hard, I also look at the price, I also look at how much Pi I have, and I also imagine making an appointment at the Lamborghini dealership, more or less. Yeah, no, it's here. Yeah. But that should not be what we focus on. So we should consciously try to focus on, okay, what does it take for Pi to not just stay stable at around $1, but actually increase in value? And the answer to that is more use cases. And use cases, on one hand, yes, it is if your local coffee shop accepts Pi or your local mechanical shop accepts Pi. But the real use cases would be apps in the Pi ecosystem. So not something local where then 200 pioneers that live in the area can use that coffee shop, but something that all 10, 20, 30, however many million users can use on their phone to actually get a benefit, in quotes, out of their pie that they otherwise wouldn't get. I shared it in the past, could be something like a dating app for crypto nerds, where the premium packages and so on are paid for with Pi. Could be something like an eBay that works with Pi, so pioneers can sell their used stuff. I could sell my old copy of Elliott Wave Principle, and somebody else, instead of paying $30, could offer or win it with 1 Pi, 2 Pi, 10 Pi, whatever. Yeah. But that will take time to develop. But what we can do as individual users is stop focusing too much on the price. It's important that we monitor the price and so on, but it's not the only thing that matters, especially long term. And actually, if you know developers, if you know designers, if you know people that work online or that can do their job remotely, or that are in an industry where shipping is possible, tell them or ask them why they don't accept Pi as a form of payment to tap into the market of 10, 20 million potential customers worldwide. And with that, create more utility. Yeah? Anyway, so trying to get to an end here. Yeah, I see 2 more questions. Last thing we're going to cover today. Ori is asking if Elliott Wave Principle or the Elliott Wave theory basically considers the unlock supply over time. Yeah. No, it doesn't. And that's a very, very interesting aspect of Elliott Wave Principle. It's based on mass psychology. Now, I've been wrong with my predictions based on Elliott Wave theory here and there. Yeah. But I've been also so incredibly right. And in so many cases that I've been beating the market since 2020 consistently, with the only exception, just for full transparency, technically last year I finished at a loss, but that is because in 2023, or from middle of 2023, or actually autumn of 2023 till around April 2024, I somehow got the idea, I got greedy, happens from time to time, and traded the Nasdaq with a 20 times leverage, which is basically closer to gambling than to trading. And while I initially made a 5-digit amount in profit in 2023, in 2024, I lost that amount and 4,000 more. So, and because 23 had the profit phase of that gambling period and 24 had that huge loss in the beginning of the year, technically 24 was a losing year. If I, however, exclude the 20 times leverage trades, yeah, if I'm being transparent here, if we exclude them, then I also beat the markets, yeah, by a huge margin last year as well. And it's interesting because in some cases, when I look at a chart for an asset, without knowing what the company does, without considering any news about the company, so just applying Elliott Wave theory, I very, very often am able of predicting the future movement. Obviously, I get it wrong sometimes or so, but the point is, because it's based on mass psychology, everything else is secondary to it. So I don't consider supply, I don't consider earnings reports, I don't consider like what the business does, what industry it's in. I solely consider the pattern on the chart, and in more than enough cases, it turns out to be right. But again, to be fair, Elliott Wave theory, because it's based on mass psychology, applies mostly, or the most accurate predictions are actually in indices. So if I label the Nasdaq, for example, where it's not labeling a single stock, but labeling the cumulative, the summed up result or average of 100 stocks, obviously it fits there better, because it also, the Nasdaq chart reflects the trading decision and behavior of people that trade or of the investments and decisions made in 100 different stocks compared to labeling a single individual stock. Yeah. But yeah, it is for me personally the most accurate strategy that I ever found. It worked for me for years reliably, and I have no reason to doubt that I will in the future also make further profits following that strategy. But like everything else, it's not 100% accurate. Here and there you will get things wrong, either because a pattern suddenly turns against you in quotes, or because you just saw what you wanted to see instead of seeing what's actually there. But yeah, that about that. So, and Santi, last for today. So we have a typical seller profile, people that can't wait for their Pi to unlock so they can sell them at the best price available. What's the buyer profile for Pi right now? Right now it's speculation. I mean, there is no great use case. There are a few apps out there. There is theoretically pokeronpi.com. Yeah, so where you can play poker with Pi on your phone, but that's only applies to people that want to play poker. And then also, if those people wanted to play with their own money in quotes, they probably would just use something like PokerStars, GG Poker, or some other poker provider that has apps on their Mac, Windows, and whatnot, and is regulated and certified and blah blah blah. They probably, so while those people would maybe use the Pi that they have to play poker, and if they lose it, they don't care because they didn't have to pay money to get those Pi. But they also have not a lot of incentive to go to an exchange to buy Pi coins so that they can play them in the Pi browser, especially when there's also, for example, coinpoker.com, I think, is one of the crypto poker platforms where you can deposit Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that. So, and you also have a client not only on your phone, but also on your Windows computer or Mac or so. So there is not much buyer profile right now. So there's no, outside of speculating that Pi will succeed. There are not many use cases there. I mean, maybe you want to buy the Pi domains. We covered that yesterday. But there's also not much use case to gamble on the domains. Yeah. So the buy volume that we see might be people that are trading the swings, you know. Wait, chat, okay. Okay. I asked because the trading volume is huge for a new coin, and the only explanation I could think of is scalpers and global consensus value believers. Yeah. The global consensus value believers are the last people to buy. In my opinion, every single person that runs around and says Pi should be worth $314,000 is actually only saying that because that would make them millionaires or billionaires, and it's their dream to be super rich. Yeah, I don't believe a single person that runs around and says Pi is worth $314,000 is actually willing to put money into Pi. Yeah, they are all, in my opinion, those are all people willing to cash out. I might be wrong with that, but that's just how I see that. Yeah, scalpers for sure. People that sold at close to the $3 mark and then decided, okay, at $1 they will re-enter, at 150 they will re-enter, and so on. So day traders, trading bots. You know, like some of the exchanges like OKX have trading bots that you can configure, which I would never do, to be honest, because because otherwise we go again off route. But a lot of automated trading, and yeah, there is a lot of trading volume, but there are also millions of people out there, and there might be people that just in generally trade altcoins. So maybe they have a successful trading strategy, maybe they just apply to Pi Network and basically buy low, sell high, you know. So it's possible, if we switch back for a second or for a last moment, that there are people that just have money in OKX, or that are trading the incentives, you know, that OKX has the competition, or BitGet, Bitmart, I forget now which one, has the competition about like trading volume. So the more you trade, the more tickets you earn, and then at the end of the competition, you get a bonus. So those might be applying their trading strategy to buy at resistance level, although there is no resistance level here. I mean, technically there is one here, yeah. But to buy at the usual retracement levels and then sell when it hits the next retracement level, for example, yeah. So to then buy again, sell again, buy again, sell again. And if they do that well, make profit this way, or even if they just manage to do that break even, then make profit through the trading competitions. At the end of the day, we'll never know who is trading, yeah, unless people are actively sharing. And it's a good question. Maybe somebody else that has deeper market understanding can share some ideas about who they think or what they think is causing the trading volume, because there is obviously hundreds of millions of dollars being traded worth of Pi every day. Which brings the question, who is buying? Is it really just people selling Pi and buying it back and forth? So selling to realize a profit, and then once it dropped a certain amount, buying again, where they think the price will bounce to then again sell, combined with the people that get their coins and then basically wanna sell and wanna cash out. It's, only the future will tell who's right. So I mean, I have a set 2,000 coins unlocking in July, and I don't plan on selling them. So it's possible that in 5 years I can get a "I told you so" T-shirt, and everybody that sold will be, I sold back then and now it's worth 10 times that much or so. It's also possible that I'm not selling, and then in a year, in 2, in 5, I'm gonna feel like the idiot for not selling or so. But yeah, that's different. It's especially different because there we invested a five-digit amount. So, but I feel like I didn't invest anything. So even if I don't sell and the project doesn't succeed, I didn't really lose anything other than a little bit of my time. And unlike many of the Pi users, we also generated a little bit of revenue on YouTube at least. So it's not that bad. But there are right now more questions than answers, to be honest, as far as the price development goes. The core matter still is use cases. We need use cases, and for that we need to attract developers and people that offer services that somehow work either online, remotely, or with international shipping. And then again, it comes down to that the people that offer those services. So if I could hire a community manager for our YouTube channel and pay them with Pi, great. But if that community manager then every week sells their Pi, well, then it also doesn't do much good, because then it would be the same if I sell the Pi and then use the money to pay the community manager. So it's still sold and it's still sell orders. So honestly, I had an idea, but I had an idea. I might actually, I'll share it here. So maybe somebody else can make it a reality, because we have so many other things on our to-do list. But I thought about creating a mobile app. So not a Pi app, because it doesn't have to be a Pi app for what I think would work. And the whole purpose of the app would be just like in Pi Network, where you press a button once per day to earn your share of Pi. You actually would just once per day have to press a button, watch a 30 to 60 second ad to generate ad revenue. So it goes back to people claiming Pi or other projects are just there to generate ad revenue. So creating a mobile app, people sign up, people watch an ad once per day in the first version. Later they get the option to watch more apps. And for watching those ads in the first version, they just get some in-app points. And then, so because the development always should be easy to get it launched, and then you can develop further once it generates revenue. Then the revenue from those ads is used to develop the app further, of course. But and by developing the app further, I mean by adding a referral system, by adding the ability for users to watch more ads. So not just one per day, but that they can, if they want to, watch 10 ads and earn more points. And additionally, that maybe offer walls, like sign up for or download this other game, play till level 20, and you get even more points. And then the goal would be to use the ad revenue to obviously cover costs of development, clearly, and the costs of running the business, which is like a couple $100 per month, for example, but then use the ad revenue to go onto an exchange like Bitmart, BitGet, whatever, so Pionex, MEXC, and buy Pi. And then, or actually, to be more precise, the long-term goal would be, if you have $100,000 in ad revenue, you take $10,000 and you put them on a separate bank account, and we call that the Pi Developers Fund. you take whatever costs you have, so server costs, cost for developer, maybe cost for customer service that you have to pay out of it. And with the rest of the money, you go on an exchange. So let's say $80,000 out of 100,000, maybe it's 70, maybe it's 89, who knows, yeah. You go to an exchange and you buy Pi coins. And then depending on how many points you have in the app, let's say $80,000 worth of Pi, you take, let's say, half of it. And among all the users that collected points by watching ads, each point would equal one ticket, and half of what you bought on the exchange goes to one single winner. And the rest, so 40,000 would go to one single user, and the rest of the 40,000 is distributed among all users, depending on how many points they have. Yeah. So this would be a way. It would be a very, very simple app. It would not require Pi Network's KYB or at some point it actually would require KYB, but it would not be in the Pi ecosystem because it's not about interacting with the Pi blockchain. It's just about creating an app where people can watch ads, yeah, and to create ad revenue and use that ad revenue to just buy Pi on the open market. Take some of the money to put it in a Pi developer fund. So we call that Pi developer fund. So 10%, for example, where then people with ideas for apps could submit their, in quotes, business plan and then basically get funding for their apps. So if they can develop it on their own, they get a monthly salary paid out of that developer fund so they can focus on developing the app, for example. If they cannot develop it on their own, they get the money to pay for developers or so, yeah. And basically, this would allow people to earn more Pi. It would probably not be a lot because if you watch 1,000 ads, you generate around $2 to maybe $20 in ad revenue, yeah. So that would mean if for 3 years you watch one ad per day, you would bring the project or the business $2 to $20, yeah, so which is not a lot for spending a minute of your time per day. But through the volume, if 1 million users would use that app and watch an ad per day, it would create thousands of dollars every day, which would mean every day, whoever realizes that idea, every day they could buy thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe at some point hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Pi, which creates Pi pressure on the exchange. In that app, the user would then add their Pi wallet address and at some point have a withdrawal function. So where they add their wallet, they say withdrawal, and then either automated or manually, they get their share of those Pi into the wallet. So that's an idea that I've been having. Right now, I'm running into some legal issues with that because if you make the, in quotes, giveaway, where if you buy $80,000 worth of Pi, one random user gets 50% or so based on the, not random, but based on the submitted tickets, yeah, or not submitted tickets, but on the earned points, then it could be considered a lottery, which then, if the business is registered in Hong Kong, would be a huge issue. So there are a lot of aspects that I currently am slowly working on figuring out if we could do something like that. If yes, we will. But if somebody else has the time, is in a country where they know they will not have the same legal obstructions along the way, then go ahead, build it. I happily promote it in my videos because if it comes with transparency, so with a website where every, maybe not every day, but every month at least, it reports and shares the payments from the ad networks. It shares not just in a text message, but with proper video proof, or maybe even through a third-party auditor or something like that, how many Pi were bought, how many were distributed to users. So as long as it's fully transparent, I think that would be a great idea right now, because what would be the downside? So it would give users an extra way to earn Pi. So you have a second app on your phone, you start it once per day, you watch one ad, you watch more ads, up to you, and you would get a little bit more Pi out of that. It would have an incentive, because if enough ad revenue is generated, and it's legally possible to do that kind of random draw where from all the pie that you buy on the exchange, half of it, 30%, 20%, whatever, goes to one random winner, maybe every day. I don't know how often the ad networks have payouts, if you can have daily payouts or only monthly payouts. Yeah. So there would be kind of the chance that, of course, it's a small chance. If there's 1 million users, you would have a 1 in a million chance or something like that, that you don't just get $2 worth of pie, but that you actually in one go suddenly get $50,000 worth of pie, which would be interesting. And as said, by saying one puts aside 10% of whatever ad revenue is generated for a developers fund, we could actually build up and fund projects that create utility for Pi Network. So yeah, but that's what I wanted to share. So feel free to steal that idea if you're capable to make it a reality. If you have a legal entity set up for it, everything figured out, and a prototype of the app, shoot me an email. The email address is on the channel page. If you go to the About section, I happily promote it if everything checks out, because I feel this would be very easy to create right now. Because if you're a mobile app developer, the easiest thing for you is to create a mobile app where there's nothing but a button to once per day confirm your attendance and credit points to the user and have an ad integration. It doesn't get easier than that. Yeah. And so if you can figure out the rest as well, I happily would promote it. I still will work on that idea myself as well, but right now, with all the legal obstruction and all the other things in our business that I have to take care of, I don't think that we'll get anywhere close to launching anything like that in the next 6 months. But again, if you know anybody that could make this a reality, share the last couple minutes of this live stream with them. And just, they could also, if whoever builds that takes a 5% cut of the ad revenue, who cares? Yeah. It's still then, it makes them a ton of money, but it also would help the whole ecosystem, especially if it has the 10 or maybe 15 or 20% of ad revenue that goes into a developer fund to fund other project developments that help the ecosystem. But yeah, now I'm starting to lose my voice. Irina already left, so she had to bring a package to a drop-off station. And I hope you were able to get some information out of today's streams. Last but not least for today, I have to be honest, for the next couple of streams, I will still do my best to answer your questions. And but I feel like we covered most of the recurring and very important topics about Pi. So we probably in the next couple of streams might jump into a few other projects. And let's just see where the streams take us, to be honest. When there is something new and important to share about Pi, I will always share it, of course. But it feels like in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks of streaming, we really covered so much that's relevant. And I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I missed that's the live chat, not questions. Yeah, so I covered all the questions. Thank you for watching. Like the idea, it would be like an offer wall, so I have to switch here. Yeah, but the whole idea would be that it's completely transparent, that it is about the whole purpose of the app is to generate ad revenue, just with the touch that it's fully transparent. So if we build it and we say we want to take a 5% cut, we'll say we take a 5% cut. So there's no guessing if it makes us rich or not. It will be it would be fully transparent. I've never built a mobile app, so I don't know if the ad networks provide you with a daily payout, weekly payout, monthly payout. However often it is, it would transparently share how much money was generated. It would transparently share how many Pi were bought with it, how much was distributed, who won the bigger giveaway, and how much did that user get, and so on, how much is in the Pi developer fund, which project applied for funding, why was one accepted, why was one declined, how much money did that project get, and so on. So I feel like this would be, until we have really great use cases, actually an easy way to add, maybe not $10 million of buy orders, but potentially. Let's do this, the last thing, sorry. I know I always gain overtime and so on, but the last thing for today, if we quickly switch back here to the screen share. So if the app would have 1 million users that each watch one ad per day, it would be 1 million ad views. Yeah, now divided by 1,000. So it's 1,000, if we consider the cost per milli, so you get paid basically between 2. So that would be $2,000 per day, or 20 if it's like verified users and whatnot. Yeah. So between $2,000 and $20,000 per day if 1 million users sign up for that app. So that's only like 5% of the Pi Network users and watch one ad per day. You would have between $2,000 and $20,000 per day that you could then use to buy Pi on the open market. That again, then in a giveaway basis, or actually fair distribution with a share as a giveaway for 1 user or 5 users or whatever, depending the amounts, you just distribute more Pi, but you also create buy volume. If then obviously those users watch more ads, you could have a way bigger amount every day that you give away and that you end up buying on the market. And you would instantly also have a way bigger amount of a developers fund to actually fund ideas to help make Pi a success. Anyway, with that, if you know a developer, share the idea. I happily promote it if somebody does it in the right, transparent way. I will also see if we can make it happen otherwise. But again, I have no huge hopes that we can do anything like that in the next 6 months, considering the results of my first research attempts in that area. And yeah, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Don't forget, hit the thumbs up button. Doesn't cost you anything, but helps the stream a lot. And then see you all either in our Discord community or in one of my other videos, or tomorrow with another episode of Common Chaos Live. Till then, bye-bye.